I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice. I mean, listen, we talking about practice. Not a game. We talking about practice. Yeah. Not a game.
Me. Bam. Me, man.
Not a game.
Slap that like she scored 30.
What are we even talking about, man? We talking about sports here.
It's here, guys. It's here. The Hall of Fame game, the first game of the season. From this week forward, we're gonna have a football game every single weekend up until the Super Bowl starts.
Yo!
I mean, Christmas comes early for some.
Are you ready for some football?
And what other team to start it off then with the beloved Cowboys? I mean,
we them boys.
And we're on Hard Knocks. It's going to be a good season of football for me. I'm not letting the Hard Knocks stuff get to me and jinx the season. But
all the clout in the world.
I'm excited for football season. The news broke just before we got on air. Jerry Jones is trying to put all the bad juju behind him that's plagued the Cowboys. You know how some teams had like the curse of the Bambino. Some teams, if you're superstitious, you could say, hey, Jerry Jones keeping Jimmy Johnson, the two-time Super Bowl winner, out of the Cowboys Ring of Honor, could be bad juju. As of today, he's announced that he's going into the Cowboys Ring of Honor. So for some Cowboys fans, that's some big news. I know Ben kind of laughed at me when I said that this was
like,
breaking news. But hey, if you're a Cowboys fan, I mean, you know that story all too well about how they got the Super Bowls. Jerry Jones felt spited, felt like he didn't get any credit, and he's made it his lifelong duty to try and win a Super Bowl as the architect or the GM of the team. So I don't know, guys. I'm just excited that football's back. Are y'all going to be watching the Hall of Fame game?
Hell nah. I'm gonna be on We Talking About Sports. That's how I'm gonna be doing.
I'm gonna have it on in the background, see what's up. The Steelers quarterback competition. You know, the starters are playing tonight for both teams, I believe. So the Steelers backup quarterback competition between Rudolph and who's the guy that they got from the
Rudolph and Dobbs.
No, Washington football team.
Haskins.
There you go. My bad. I thought
Haskins. Let's see Haskins take that step up and be that star Wally Garza says he can be, baby.
That's what he's coming off of some tough news. He was in the news lately for getting punched by his girlfriend, and he had to call the cops on his girlfriend. Yeah, some crazy stuff. But he was the victim.
Hey, that's the smartest thing he's done since he got in the league. He called the cops.
Man, he's taking L's. He's already taking L's off the field, bro.
Mm-hmm. And he's just one of those guys that's probably never been able to get it right. But I'm glad. Cheers. I'm glad Ben brought up that both starting quarterbacks are not playing in today's game because with training camp there comes injuries, and we've already had a couple of injuries that's happened. We saw maybe not training camp related, but Michael Thomas. He's not going to be ready until the beginning of the season. He decided to have surgery in June.
Into the season, Roland.
Into the season. Yeah, he's starting on the PUP list. Yeah,
right.
Good,
and that's at least 5 weeks out. So you're not going to see him until after week 5, guaranteed.
Yeah, so gonna hurt fantasy value. Mm-hmm. And Kamara's value might go up on that. So something to be aware of. And then the guy, Dak Prescott, like we said, is not playing. Neither is Ben Roethlisberger. But sticking with quarterbacks, Carson Wentz. He seemed to have been the big news or the big domino that fell this past week. The Colts' new signee. You know, we've been talking about Carson Wentz and the rebuilding of his mental aspect. That seems to be all that I'm hearing about is them rebuilding him mentally. I just wonder how many chances a guy can get. It's just every time you hear them talk about Carson Wentz, they bring up 2017 and him on that MVP season. But they were supposed to be getting him right. He was going to be with Frank Wright. That's no pun intended there. But the coach that helped him to his glory days when he was a rookie is the coach there with the Colts. And they were hoping that it was going to bring him back to his glory days. But injured, out for a while. They're saying it might creep into the season. And then Quentin Nelson, a similar injury. Their starting guard, part of that a really strong offensive line that the Colts had last year that kept Phillip Rivers upright a lot of the time and helped Jonathan Taylor become a monster.
That's the best old lineman in the NFL right there.
Yeah, and he's going to be out too. So the Colts are a little snake bitten here. Carson Wentz, are you guys completely out on him? Do you think this injury is going to screw up his comeback or minor setback for a major comeback?
I thought he was not trash, but I mean, he's a QB1, but he's like third grade QB1, second grade QB1 to begin with. I mean, you saw Foles take his team to the, to the glory land or whatever you want to call it. So he's just always been that guy, man, that he's great, but he's not that QB top 5 guy. And yes, he was going to get a new start with the Colts. And now I don't think he was going to do well to begin with, and now with the injury, much less. I mean, he could be one of those guys who just kind of fades away, man, and we might not see a QB1 automatic Carson Wentz again. Might have to do the backup role.
Crazy how fast his star has dimmed, or the brightness of his star has dimmed.
Yeah. Damn, I love your
I'm coming with it
today.
Play
on words today, bro. Your hyperboles. Your
rolling dropping bars here in the first.
I'm coming with my A game. I'm coming with my A game today. It's
hey, I had bigger expectations for Carson.
Yeah,
Wentz.
You said that you had the Colts in first place in that division. You were talking about how you had the Colts above the Ravens.
We haven't gotten to that division, but things changed when Julio Jones went to the Titans as far as the division winners. I still had the Colts in the playoffs. I do think that without Carson Wentz, I think that might eliminate the Colts from the playoff race, depending on how they fix the situation. Because the options that are on the roster right now just aren't going to get it done.
They still have Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, they do it.
No?
They have Eason, Brissett, and they signed Hundley.
Hey, let Eason start the season. I have some rookie cards of his.
Dude, I was just going to say that. I got some rookie cards.
Trash. Eason's trash. Like, none of those quarterbacks on that roster can hold them over to be competitive until Carson Wentz comes back, and then for them to hope that he comes back, well. They need to try and Band-Aid it. The guy that started for them last year just retired and has been in the news saying that he's staying ready. We know how many kids he has to support, so another year in the league wouldn't hurt Phillip Rivers. But you just can't think that the Colts are going to throw away the season. And the rumor is that Carson Wentz might come back 5 to 12 weeks. So that's well into the season. I mean, they're going to have to play
a big gap.
The 5 to 12. He might be back like week 1, week 2, if that's on the short end of the recovery.
And that 5 to 12 week, I don't know if it was week 5 or week 12 of the NFL season, or just 5 to 12 weeks.
I think it's the latter.
Within recovery.
Yeah.
Okay, so but the lineman said for sure he'd be back within the 5 weeks, but you expect the big hog, to push it. As far as quarterback, somebody that footwork is so intricate in their game, and the drop back, all that, it sucks, and it hurts a lot of that team. It hurts the value on Taylor.
What do you think about the notion that they wouldn't bring in a backup because they don't want to ruin his psyche? Do you think that's bullshit, for lack of better words, or do you think there's something to that? And would you consider that if you're the coach? Because that's what people are saying, that they don't want to bring in a guy like Nick Foles because that would completely shatter Carson Wentz's mindset. Seeing Nick Foles walk back in and
imagine same guy.
That's what I'm saying. Not Nick Foles. Phillip Rivers makes more sense than Nick Foles. I mean, like Nick Foles, that would send this kid. It would take his soul, bro. Not this guy again. Not this guy again.
But do you think that that's like a sense of weakness to even have to consider that? Because I was just listening to some guys talk on, I forget what show it was, but they were just saying pretty much like, hey, I was a linebacker in the NFL, and every year I had to worry about somebody else coming and taking my job. They were drafting my replacement every year. But since it's this quarterback, oh no, we don't want to bring somebody in because it's going to ruffle his feathers. Does that annoy you, or does it just come with the territory?
I think that with the quarterback, I mean, the less distractions for the quarterback position, it is the hardest position in sports. I think most people can agree as far as decision-making and the consequences that come with not getting the ball off or, that big hit. So I think that the less distractions that a team can control and, give that quarterback and take off of his plate, once that shit starts, then the media just runs with it. And there's no stopping it then. So if the team never even really puts it on the table, it's kind of just helping him out. If the guy hasn't even gotten his feet wet with the team, as far as, in-game action, regular game action, you don't want the injury is already a big enough hit. You don't want to give him that KO blow, bro. And that's what it would be if they brought Foles. Now, Phillip Rivers was there last year. It's more understandable. He's a veteran. Wentz knows that there's no future with that team. even though there might not be with Foles, but there's already that history. Phillip Rivers makes a lot more sense, and I do think it would mess with Wentz's psyche.
I do think if they brought Rivers back, it would too, because I'm pretty sure.
With Rivers too? I don't think with Rivers it would.
I think with Rivers too, because I mean Rivers isn't coming to be a backup either. I don't think Rivers is a gamer. Maybe he's a little bit older now, but I think he's going into play.
He can be benched. They're not committed to it.
That's true.
But with the amount of games that Jacoby Brissett started, I mean he was still a solid enough guy. I mean he wasn't out there being an all-star winning games. But he did start a good amount. So if you're the Colts, do you even bother trying to get someone? Or do you say, hey, we still have Brissett. We still have Eason. Wentz isn't done for the year. He's going to come back eventually. So do we need to do that? Do we need to even go out there and look at Foles, call up Rivers? Or are we – I mean, can we, deal with this for now? We don't have to hit the emergency button just yet on the quarterback situation.
I think because it's a foot injury, you have to, bro. I think that's one of the worst injuries that you can get in preseason. I mean, you're already going into the season with this injury. You're a quarterback, and you just have a history of being glass and always been. You're a training room all-star. That's what Carson Wentz has been.
I think that's a big point. He has a history of being fragile as a quarterback and going down with injuries. But maybe I'm playing this on the fence, but I think they're probably going to see how his recovery is going the first 2-3 weeks. And then once they make that determination that he's going to be on the long end of the recovery timeline or the short end, that's when they'll make the decision to sign somebody. And like you just said, with a guy like Phillip Rivers, he doesn't need to be in camp. Just call him up a couple days before Sunday, and he's going to be good to go.
Hey, he's been staying on the boy ready.
The bedroom keeps that boy ready.
Nah, he's been staying on the football field. I mean, he's a high school coach. Yeah. So he's throwing the rock around at least. Throwing doing some reps in the weight room with the kids.
Ron, your point as to maybe going with a quarterback that they already have there, like Brissett. Indianapolis is a run-first team. I mean, that is what they've been under Wright. They have a good defense to lean on, and you have Taylor. You have that guy who you can give 25-plus carries. That's what you drafted him for. That's what he did at Wisconsin. So maybe they just lean on that for the first half of the season, to buy Wentz time.
There you go.
But yeah, man, Carson Wentz definitely going to be a story to follow throughout the preseason and as we get closer to kickoff. Because I mean, once your starting quarterback goes down, that's a domino that falls, and we like to play fantasy football here, and that's a big domino falling, and that could potentially affect a lot of guys' ADPs and where they end up going for the draft, depending on when Carson Wentz is coming back.
And for most teams, it means disaster, Roland. Like for most teams, when the starting QB goes out, there's not much of a plan B. You know what I mean? Like,
I mean, you've seen what's happened to the Cowboys the past couple of years when their starter's gone down. It's plan B has been non-existent, and that's credit to the teams though that do have a plan B and are able to get through with their backup.
There's a handful.
Yeah, and it's crazy, but. That was, the little intro. We wanted to talk about some general camp news before we got into
the breaking news.
What we're really here for, and that's the AFC West. But before we get into that, Ben, Ron, have you guys been since the last time we showed up here together? I know, Ben, you just broke down UFC 265. So how are you doing?
Doing good, man. Looking forward to the card Saturday. Fucking found out I got to work Saturday morning. I usually don't work the weekends, but somebody at work came down with COVID, so we're having to fill in. Yeah, but I've been good. I'm looking forward to that Derek Lewis fight, like you said. Justin and I had a little breakdown of the main card, five fight main card. That video's out, the audio's out everywhere. Y'all can check it out. But yeah, man, football, like we kicked off with, it's kicking off today, pun intended. And I'm ready to get into another division.
And this should be a good one to get into.
Happy belated. I don't think we've had a show since your birthday,
right?
That's
true.
Yeah, we haven't. Yeah, I
we haven't. So
over the week, Shingo's of
good friend,
getting
Ron. Very good friend.
I try to be, man. No, I've just been chilling too, man. I've been working a lot. Back to school. I mean, I'm going to work at the post office. So back to school, now that the schools are open, last year, nobody was ordering, anything. So now it's like backpacks, shoes, clothes. It's all coming in heavy, man. So work's been crazy. I haven't been able to film any videos either. But other than that, just work and got back into the rec softball league. Had two games last night. Little one at 7 and one at 9. It sucked that they were back to back, but dude, I'm hurting like a mug right now, dog.
Is it a co-ed league or
no? Oh man, bro. The shoulders.
What position are you playing, Ron?
Left field, Dad. Come on. You know the balls go over there.
Did you catch any pop flies yesterday or what?
You know it, dog. Shoot. Nice. Dude, my arm is gone though. Like you
can't tell me that your first game back, it was all suave, Ron.
Hell no. Nah. I mean, there was a couple that I could have went for, and I said, hell no. I just let it drop, right in front of me.
Played it safe.
Yeah. But no, man, other than that, just work, planning the wedding, and it's crunch time, and football is back. So it's going to be a busy next 3-4 months for myself and for the We Talking About Sports family. But I'm ready. Let's get it.
Oh, yeah. Let's get into it, guys. Without further ado, this is the AFC West divisional breakdown episode. And we're going to get right to it. So like we started the last couple of divisions, we'd like to look back and review at what happened the year before. And it's been much of the same. So we probably won't spend too much time looking at 2020. But the Chiefs, they wrapped up their 5th straight AFC West division title. I can't remember the last time or who won the last division title. If I were to guess, I would say it would probably be the Chargers. But yeah, the Chiefs wrapped up their 5th straight division title. They dominated. Going 14-2. They're big favorites to win it again. They find themselves minus 250 to win the AFC West. I think that's the steepest. I think that might be the steepest odds out of all the division winners out there. I remember you and I, when we used to take some future bets together, we took, I think it was the Packers one year. They were like minus 300 to win the division, but we were sweating that up to like week 17
because of the Vikings.
Yeah, I remember that. But yeah, the Chiefs, they're minus 250 to win the AFC West. They're plus 500 to win the Super Bowl, plus 250 to win the AFC Championship. To make the playoffs, they're minus 1,200. So you can pretty much write that in the book. They're going to be there playing late into December and January. Season total is at over 12.5. Juice to minus 130, and Patrick Mahomes plus 350 to win the MVP. Last year, they went 4-2 against the division. I think they split with the Raiders, and they split with the Chargers. Took that last game from them at the end of the season. 6-2 at home. They were perfect on the road. And as we all know, they lost in the Super Bowl to the Bucs. They got dominated 31-9, didn't even score a touchdown. Nice little stat here. We do like to look at these close games because nice little indicator of what's to come next year. They had 9 games decided by 7 points or less, and they went undefeated in those games. I want to say, or I have the stats up there. I think I had a typo, but they went undefeated in close games nonetheless. And like Ben called out a couple of weeks ago when we brought the stat up, if you have a good quarterback or the better quarterback, you're going to win a lot of those close games. So 7-0 in those games. Looking into what they did in this offseason, they've tried rebuilding their offensive line. They brought over Joe Thuney, their offensive tackle. They got a trade with the Ravens to bring over Orlando Brown. They also added Jerick McKinnon, Blake Bell, and then in the draft, really nothing too crazy in the draft. They got a center from OU in round 2. And that's really the storyline for the Chiefs is how quickly can they rebuild their offensive line, because some of their departures, they lost Eric Fisher, who was a first-round pick. I think he was the number 1 pick for them a few years ago. Their left tackle has been there for them for a while. He's no longer there. They lost Sammy Watkins to the Ravens, Rashad Breeland, cornerback to the Vikings. No more playoff Damian. He's with the Bears now. Damian Wilson, their linebacker, not to get confused with Damian Williams, is with the Jaguars now. So pretty, I would say quiet offseason, but they do have some question marks on the offensive line that they got to answer. And then when you look at their season schedule, I mean, it gets off to a pretty tough start, and that's where I'm going to leave it for Mr. Ron to come through. What do you like about this Chiefs team, or what don't you like?
Man, I love this Chiefs team. I mean, I'm not gonna go in too much depth. I mean, me, from what I see on the outside looking in, not much has changed. You still have the stars on the team. You didn't, have anybody huge go down with injury. They're a Super Bowl champs 2 years ago. They win the division again to get back to the Super Bowl. What the hell happened in the Super Bowl? I mean, we know what happened, but we didn't see that coming at all. So it's just a team that I think is the train's still going. That it didn't really veer too much off its tracks. All they can do is just learn from that Super Bowl loss. I know they're
still in the Super Bowl window.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, if they win this year, yes, the Bucs are still there, but they're still in contention for that dynasty type of team. Going into the Super Bowl 3 years, winning, 2. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes is a little bit more banged up. He's been a couple more. He's not that fresh guy anymore. Teams are starting to game plan more around him, but you still have the firepower there. They're great. The coach is really, really good. The best bet that I see here, I know you, man, I don't know, bro, because I know you guys are on the over, but looking at their schedule, like Roland said, don't be shaking your head, man. I see that.
We just talked about the play, and then Ron went out there and said, "Hey, coach, I got this." Oh!
Let Booby spin.
Coach, I got this.
Not all we talking about bets has to be a consensus, does it?
No, it
maybe
doesn't. It doesn't.
It's just I'm just pointing out because of what Roland said. I mean, look at the beginning of the schedule is going to be pretty tough. Those first 5 games minus Philadelphia. I mean, Cleveland, Baltimore, the Chargers, and then Ben's Buffalo Bills. Say that 3 times fast.
It is the Bills in Kansas City, and although I am a Bills fan, like in Kansas City, the Chiefs
in Arrowhead
really don't lose. Yeah, they don't lose regular season games in Arrowhead.
Mm-hmm. That'll probably be a primetime game too, if not.
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, Green Bay's going to be tough. I mean, I'm a Dallas fan. What's definitely going to help them is the latter part of their schedule. You have Denver, Raiders, Chargers, and then Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, Denver. So I think coming after the bye, they can probably win out. So that's an easy 6 wins there. Man,
Do you see 4 losses, Ron? Do you see more than 4 losses? Because 4 losses, their team totals at 12.5, meaning they'd have to get 13 wins in 17 games. Do you see 4 losses on the schedule? I mean, I'm not saying they're going to go undefeated.
Yeah. You know what, Ben? When you put it that way, I think the ceiling is 4 losses. So
I think that would be the most that they got. And I think with 4 losses, right, Roland, if I'm correct?
With 4, they still cash.
I would say
4 they're at 13.
Yeah, let's just say maybe going to Baltimore early in the year, that could maybe be one. Going to Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers is Aaron Rodgers. So I mean,
Green Bay at home.
That one's in Kansas City.
Oh, that's right. Oh.
And that's what helps them out. That tough stretch. Man. Most of their tough games are at home.
That Washington and Tennessee, going to Tennessee, I think that they could drop one of those. Those are back-to-back road games,
and especially coming off of the Buffalo game.
Exactly,
that's going to be a tough game.
Yeah. So I see 3-4 losses tops on the schedule. I like when you have Patrick Mahomes, you're just going to be there, man. And like you said, even last year when he was banged up, he did miss a couple of games. And this is a team that has shown that they can win with the backup quarterback.
He missed 2 games last year.
Yeah. But has that been the only time that he's
Actually,
missed?
No, take it back. He missed 1 game last year. He missed 2 games in 2019 with that leg injury on that quarterback sneak.
Yeah, the kneecap.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so Mahomes will miss maybe about 1 or 2 games because, Ron said, he's not the freshest guy. He has gotten banged up each of the last 2 seasons.
And last year with that O-line problem that they had with the injuries, I mean, he was holding on to the ball those extra couple of seconds to buy those receivers time and taking the hit instead of normally, being able to hold it and be blocked for. But here he was just having to do it to make the play.
And that's what I was going to ask you, Ben, before you got in and gave us your prediction is, do you think that O-line is a true concern, or is it just one of those things where you trust Andy Reid to compensate for that, and they're going to get more into the quick passing game, they're going to hit you with some quick little dump offs, stuff to compensate for their potential struggles.
But even then, Roland, they lost offensive line, but they went and fixed those needs right away. Like it's still
a new line. It still might need to gel.
It is a new O-line, but Orlando Brown's been around a long time, and he was a very good tackle when he was with the Ravens, although this scheme might be more passing-based with Kansas City rather than running-based, how it was for him with the Ravens and their scheme. Orlando Brown can get it done. That's a good guy to have on Patrick Mahomes' blind side, and all he needed was not a no-namer there, man. I think that they made it a priority to go out and fix that with Joe Thuney and Orlando Brown. They went out and got their guys right away. Not necessarily the cream of the crop, but they got serviceable replacements and above average replacements. Orlando Brown is held to a pretty high standard in the league amongst his peers at that position. So
I think going into the additions compared to the departures, I mean, you get a guy like Jerick McKinnon and you lose a guy like Damian Williams. I would take McKinnon over, somebody like Williams there. And
he's gonna be wanting to show his stuff.
Yeah. So to Roland's point, when he was going over the additions, and Ben's point, they did address that. They addressed all their needs right away. And now that I kind of look at this and it's kind of staring me at the, right here in front of the face, I think I might have to go, with the boys, man. Let's take
we got the consensus then.
Yeah.
Consensus. Yeah.
Because I even said it myself. I mean, the second half of their schedule looks like it's cake. So that even narrows it down to 4 losses in the first half of their schedule. And then you guys touched on it. I mean, I think that's the key to their schedule, is that a lot of their tough games are at home. And, man, let's just do it, man. Let's take the overs.
After the bye week, the most losable game, in my opinion, is probably at LA with the Chargers. And a lot of people have high hopes for the Chargers, so that might be a competitive game. But if you think that they split, you would maybe give Kansas City the game at home against them, and that's in the first half of the season. And when I was looking at this, I mean, I had to give them losses. Every game
force yourself to say
is a toss-up. But if you're being conservative, you got to look and say, like Ben said, you look at their 2 away games, Washington and Tennessee, and then you couple that with was coming off of a game against Buffalo. They're probably going to drop one of those 2 games, just being conservative. And then you give them the loss at Baltimore. So that's 2 right there. And then if you're being conservative, I mean, maybe they lose to Green Bay at home. I doubt it, but that's your 3rd loss. And then if you have them splitting with LA at the end of the season, that's 4. And that's kind of being conservative too. So that's kind of what my thinking was. I love this play. Of course, you have to watch out for the injury. If Mahomes goes down for the season, I mean, you could probably kiss your bet goodbye, but we're not thinking that way. So I love this bet over 12.5. I think we're going to make it a consensus.
Let's do it, man.
Yeah, throw it on the board. Throw that one on the board. Throw that one on the board. And to be honest, man, with Andy Reid and the way Andy Reid is one of those coaches that kind of has some say-so in his personnel, I feel. And they're the type of organization where that they go to Patrick Mahomes and, ask him his input, or at least, what he thinks. Not necessarily that what Mahomes says goes, but they at least fill him in before doing some of these things. And they didn't lose much. They lost Sammy Watkins on offense. You know what I mean? Like Ron said previously, all the stars are going to be back. Tyreek Hill's going to be there. Kelsey's going to be there. They've been very durable throughout this run that they've had. Those guys aren't injured much. Tyreek had that little scare with the possible suspension, but as far as their availability, this team's always out there. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, this will be his 2nd year. Maybe he'll get thrown into the offense a little more as far as the pass catching route. So I still have big expectations for this team, man. Their defense last year was kind of bad. They did allow a lot of points, but obviously with Mahomes at quarterback, you're going to win most of those shootouts. they've still found themselves in the Super Bowl with one of the worst defenses in the NFL last year as far as yardage and points wise given up. I agree with you. I don't see 4 losses tops on this schedule. Last year they dropped that one to Las Vegas in the division. I don't see them losing to the Raiders this year. So I like it, and I mean it's not like it's not rocket science. This is a Kansas City Chiefs that we're talking about. You know what I mean?
They can be the next, they can be the next Patriots. When you think about how Tom Brady, you can book them in for about 12 wins a year, 13 wins a year. They're just going to keep it going and keep it going.
How young they are as well.
15, and they're young, and they got number 15, and you don't. They got Mr.
and what, as far as Ben says, their defense, giving up some points. That's something like how you said, how Andy Reid has control of his players. I'm sure he was in that room during draft day also. I mean, if you look, like, I love how Roland does these, additions up here, because round 2, they went to get a linebacker from Mizzou, and then round 4, they went to get a defensive end from FSU. And then at the end, they still went and got another DB or somewhere or something, but I mean they still addressed that in the draft, as well. Yes, they were doing it later in the rounds. They didn't use these high picks, but I mean they still addressed that in the draft also, man. So very very good job by the front office also.
Well-run organization, like Ron just said, they addressed the defense where they were weak last year. But there's one thing that you can always count on with these guys, and they're going to score a lot of points.
Pal?
They're going to score a lot of points. Their games are going to be fun to watch, and their fantasy players are going to be drafted. You're going to want to get a piece of that offense, right?
I think
you might miss on some guys some weeks, but you want a part of the offense. Ben, why don't you take us through your fantasy outlook for these guys?
I was going to say, and it's kind of vanilla with them because the stars are the stars. But I think the biggest question this year is for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Does he take that next step? Last year he finished off as running back 13 in fantasy. Does he become that top 10 back in an offense that, like you said, is going to be scoring points and points and points? Although he only had 4 touchdowns last year. I think that's the biggest knock on Helaire is that, when they get into the red zone, that's when you see all those Kelsey TDs. That's when they go to the money makers. So what do you all feel about Clyde Edwards-Helaire? He's going to be in positions, to score points and in positions to thrive in that offense, not being the focal point. He's kind of going to be the afterthought, so he can get off. What do y'all think? Does he take? Do y'all see him as a top 10 running back possibly this year?
Take it, Roland. Take it away on this one.
I could see him as a top 10 running back. I think the opportunity will be there, more so than it was last year. And just like we were talking about, they're in a high-flying offense. There's a lot of options in that team where, like Ben said, he kind of becomes an afterthought when you're game planning for that offense week to week. But the only problem that I have with Clyde Edwards-Helaire is that I can't really remember when Andy Reid has been married to a running back before. It seems like he likes to throw in different guys every now and again and take
Kareem Hunt went off, Roland.
I had Clyde Edwards-Helaire last year. I mean, and I want to say he had a couple of touchdowns last year taken away off of penalties. Like I had like maybe 2 touchdowns that I saw from him that he got pulled back on holding. And the next play went to Kelsey on a little shuttle. and you're just like, how does that happen? So that stuff happens.
Sounds about right.
You can't bank on that happening consistently. Like some guys just have bad luck that way, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire is only a second-year player. So I'm going to go ahead and say that he takes that next step. And the only question that I would have, and I should have the number in front of me, but I don't. Maybe, Ben, you can help me out, is what's his ADP? Where's he going?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Where's he projected at for the round?
He's going in the 3rd round.
That's not bad.
If you all go wide receiver, he could be your RB1. Would you all feel okay, going wide receiver? Let's say you're it's kind of hard to say at the beginning because he's kind of going early 3rd round. So, maybe
you get him on the turn.
Yeah, like if you're in the 6th spot and you take maybe somebody like Adams or Kelsey in the 1st round, who we'll get into Kelsey's average draft position in a bit, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire could possibly be your RB1 being drafted in the 3rd round. Would you all feel comfortable with that, or would you feel more comfortable with him being your RB2 based on the way that you play?
I mean, if he's gonna land in your lap as an RB2, I would say, yeah, you jump on him. But I don't mind taking him in the third because running backs are not as like nowadays. You don't have that one guy who's a running back for the team. It's kind of like committee kind of thing, and we can see that maybe here with Jerick McKinnon, but he's still brand new to the team. So you feel maybe they might hold him off. A little bit.
He could be that third down back, though. McKinnon could be that third down back and just have Hilaire off the field every third down.
But okay, but let's say like you're one of those players who does fantasy and you try to balance it, right? You go running back, then you go wide receiver. You don't want to get two wide receivers right away or get too many backs. If Hilaire's still there and you already have your RB1 in the first round and you have your wide receiver 1 in the second round and he's still there, you have to jump on him third round if he's there. And that's what I would do. I would not pass him up, especially on a team like you guys said, who's offensively, a juggernaut like the Kansas City Chiefs, because they are going to be moving the ball a lot. He can get dump offs for the PPR, get a lot of yak. And I mean, if he didn't score last year, you would have to say, okay, let's get him some tutties this year.
Some positive regression to his touchdown numbers.
Yeah, I mean, if he's there in the third round and you have your RB1 and you have your wide receiver 1, dude, take him.
Roland, Clyde Edwards-Helaire only had 3 games with 20-plus carries last year. Over or under, 3 games of 20-plus carries this year for him.
He'll go over this year.
Over?
He'll go over this year.
Okay, so hopefully, I mean, because Kareem Hunt, back when Kareem Hunt was with them, we remember some of those Kareem Hunt games. He would go off. And we're talking about Kareem Hunt went for 200 yards a couple of times. Kareem Hunt had 4 touchdown games a couple of times for the Chiefs. So we haven't seen that from Clyde Edwards-Helaire yet. It was only
he's shown the ability.
Year.
Yeah, but it was his rookie year. And also, you have to think as a defense, when you go play the Chiefs, what do you think? Hey, stop the pass, stop Patty, stop the pass. And then, hey, here comes little Helaire. I think there was a game last year.
He had a couple of good games. But
I think it was a Super Bowl. And I said there was his prop was like super low. I think it was like 17 yards. Or 18 yards, and I said, dude, we have to slam this. And then I think he had a rush for like 15 or 16, easy. So he's that little sleeper, man, who, the defenses are going to be playing the pass and a little dump off to him, or, the linebackers might drop back, and there it is, like on a little draw or something.
And his value goes up even higher in PPR too. So he's going to catch the ball.
I think for where he's being drafted, I do think that there's value on him. I think as a third-round pick, there's definitely value. I wouldn't mind him being my RB1.
He's a starter on a high-flying offense.
On
a high-flying offense.
Yeah. So, Roland, let's get to Kelsey, because Kelsey's the guy he's being the first Chief drafted.
In the first round.
In the first round. He's going before wide receivers. So it's those top running backs, Zeke, Barkley, Cook, Henry, McCaffrey, Kamara, and then Kelsey's going off the board. What do you think about drafting tight end in the first round? Now, Kelsey has been one of the most consistent guys.
Yeah,
his availability.
When you put it that way, at face value, it's unconventional. I mean, you don't really draft tight ends in the first round. Maybe the highest I've ever drafted one was maybe Kittle in like the third round one year.
Oh, shit.
That's the highest I've ever gotten, but it paid off because he was actually good that year. Wasn't last year. But anyways, unconventional, but for like with a guy like Kelsey, I can see it. It's warranted. His statistics have been there. The only thing that scares me personally is it's just a little bit of, I guess, superstition. Is like I always get worried about when a guy has just been tearing it up for like 3 or 4 years and then in a row consistently, and you're like, shit, I draft him and then he's gonna have his off year. So that's like, I mean, there's nothing behind that other than like my own personal just like shit. Like he's been tearing it up like 4 or 5 years. This could be it where he slows down.
But it would need to be injury. So like he's not gonna slow down based on him just not performing while he's out on the field.
Injury.
It would have
if he's fully healthy, then yes.
And not even fully healthy, but if he's on the field, he's performing. I mean, he's shown that he's one of those tough tight ends. He's an Iron Man. He's been available a lot, and I think that's why drafting him in the first round isn't that bad of a. Not that I would do it.
That's still crazy.
Would you take Devontae Adams over?
I would, but the reason why people say it is just because it's such a sure thing with Kelsey, and the fact that the drop off, from 1 to 2 and 3, and then from 3, the drop off down is even more. But the drop off after Kelce at the position, you're already walking in with like a 5-point advantage at the position every time. Off the jump. You know?
Yeah, but you also got to do. I mean, the just thinking about. I don't want to get all technical and stuff, but you have to think about what you're giving up at the running back position by drafting Kelce that high.
Right.
That's the takeaway there. And I mean, he's been good enough to where if you've drafted him early, he's made you a league winner or close to that because he's just been a beast. I mean, and you got to worry about the shovel game and the short yardage, him getting touchdowns.
So would you take him in the first round, Roland?
Man, I would have to be in the back end, and Devontae would have to be gone because, like you, I would take Devontae Adams over Kelce. But I've actually flipped a little bit because I've been doing a little bit more reading on Nick Chubb. Like if I had the opportunity to take Kelce or Nick Chubb in the back of the first round, I would take Kelce over a guy like Chubb.
So if you had 10 and Adams was there and Kelce was there, you'd probably go, Adams, Kelce, or Kelce, Adams, no matter what, the way it went back to you. You would go Kelce, over the Chubbs, the Ecklers, or Aaron Joneses of the world?
The Eckler, maybe not, because I like Austin Eckler. I think he's a monster PPR back. So I might have to consider that a little bit more. But I would definitely take him over a guy like Chubb or those first-round running backs at the back end. I do like Kelce.
Okay. And then so after that, I mean, Tyreek Hill, I think Tyreek Hill is either at the back end of that first round or one of those first picks taking off the second round. There's really not much to talk about, man. He's going to get his. We know how fast he is and the way that they use him. Andy Reid's a genius with the way that he uses him. I don't know what much more y'all have to add, but I mean, Tyreek Hill, it pretty much, like Mahomes, just speaks for themselves.
Yeah, I heard somebody talking about it on another podcast that Tyreek Hill used to have this stigma about him that he was inconsistent. People used to be like, I don't want to take, because you think about him as a high flyer, the guy who catches the deep bomb, but he's been consistent from week to week, like ever since him and Patrick Mahomes linked up. It's just he has that little stigma about him. And because he's a short guy, and you have guys like, who's the guy, Jalen Ramsey, who came out and said, he's just a return guy. I'm not worried about this guy, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But then he's turned out to be, I mean, he's the second best receiver in the league right now, right? I mean, not just fantasy wise, it's him and Devontae Adams, and him and Hopkins up there. He's top 3, top 4.
He's definitely in the top 5. And we'll do our wide receiver, we'll do our position rankings, closer to the season.
The preview.
But Tyreek Hill it's debatable as far as top 3. I think that there's a debate. There's always going to be a debate for him.
His name's there, though. His name's there.
I have trouble, man. If Kamara's still there, especially now with their top wideout gone in New Orleans. If Dalvin Cook is there, I mean McCaffrey's like this.
Well, but that's early in the first round because Tyreek Hill's not going there.
No. I'm talking about Kelce because he's still projected first round, right?
Oh yeah. Back end of the first round, Kelce.
Back end of the first round, yeah.
Pick 7.
Yeah, I mean, if you're at 6 or 7, and no, that's why. And say Adams is already gone, and there's 2-3 running backs gone, and you're there in the 6th, and you see a tight end. Like, are you really gonna just convince yourself to take? I mean, it is Kelce. I don't think I could do it. I think I still have to take a running back before him. But again, if he's going late first round, 7, 8th pick, 6th pick, and it comes back to you. Do you take the risk and say, "Hey, I might get him on the comeback," or do you think he won't make it past the first round at all?
I don't think he makes it.
I don't think he gets out of the first round.
Yeah. First round at all. Damn, that's crazy, bro.
And maybe it depends on your league. I mean, every league is different. Right? We're going off of ADP, what happens most of the time, but maybe you get a league that they see all the running backs go off and they go and they just go running back, running back, and then they panic. Yeah. They want to get their guy, and that's how you get left with somebody like that. But I wouldn't put my money on it, is what I'm saying. It's a possibility.
For sure.
And so Mahomes, kind of just to wrap this up, Mahomes, going back into the second round, early third round, he's the first QB off the board. I don't think anybody argues with that. It just comes down to how early do you take your quarterback? Are you one of those people that likes to take that quarterback early and not worry about it? Or do you like to take the skill position talent and punt on the quarterback and take those guys at the end of the draft? What type of game do y'all play?
Yeah, man, I read it by the draft, honestly, in my draft position. If I'm one of those guys that's on the turn, I usually do like to take a quarterback a little bit earlier because that's when you have the opportunity to take a guy like Kyler Murray or Mahomes or something. I'm not a guy. I saw Patrick Mahomes go like in the second round last year on some crazy stuff in some leagues. I'm not that crazy. The highest I'll take a quarterback is round 3. That's probably the highest I would go.
Yeah, me last year, I've always been like wait on the quarterback, and just get a solid guy, 8th round, 7th round, whatever. But I said, hey, I want to change it up. I think I went with Watson in the 3rd round last year, and just like Roland said, this year the plan, of course, everybody has a plan, so you get punched in the face, like Tyson said. But if I can get somebody like Patty in the 3rd, or get a solid quarterback in the 4th, 5th round, I'll do that. But this year, I'm totally punting on a QB unless it falls in my lap. Late 3rd, early 4th, maybe 5th. But I'm just chilling. I'm just chilling on the QB this year.
Got you, Roland. Any interest in Mecole Hardman with Sammy Watkins gone? Does Mecole Hardman take that step up?
I'm all out on Mecole Hardman.
Mahomes is a 4,500, 5,000 yard passer. I mean, the ball's got to be spread around to somebody. It's got to be spread around to somebody.
And that's a good point. But in my opinion, I would have expected him to make that move last year. I don't think Sammy Watkins is that much of an impediment on him. And it's just one of those things. If it's not going to happen, or if it hasn't happened yet, I don't think it's going to happen. It just might be one of those things where he can't put it together. And maybe I'm going to be wrong, but I'm out on him.
I think that you have to get enough touches too to create that, that camaraderie with your quarterback on and off the field. And I don't know if he's going to get enough looks his way with Patty, going to everybody else. So I think he does well, but I don't think that he's somebody who you should, maybe go after earlier than you should.
What's his ADP?
There's just too many. He's
going, late, 12th. 13th round.
It's kind of I didn't know he was going that late.
You put it like that.
Yeah, it's kind of like, if you believe in him at this point, because like you said, most people already expected him to take that step up, and it's like, do you even roster him, or do you just kind of wait till midseason where nobody, you need somebody, and Mecole Hardman's sitting there on the waiver wire to pick up. So
I mean, if you can take him when you're taking your kicker, you can, he's a good guy to pick up for a bye week, then that's a handcuff kind of guy. I don't want anybody to get injured, but say Tyreek Hill does go down, say Kelsey does go down, and you're like, oh shit, and everybody goes right away to the waiver wire. They're like, I'm gonna get Hardman. He's that type of guy just because of the Kansas City offense, and you're like, everybody's like, Ron's gone Hardman, son of a bitch,
Hey, and you said kicker. Let's not overlook Harrison Butker. He's the best kicker in fantasy.
Roland getting into the nitty gritty, boy.
Buddy.
I just know that because he was a monster in fantasy football. Harrison, best kicker or kicker on the best team. You're gonna have a lot of opportunities to score. The math adds up. So Harrison Butker. Long story. Go ahead.
He was drilling like 50 yarders, bro, 55 yarders and shit, man.
And the only guy that scored for them in the Super Bowl. Long story short, we're high on the Chiefs here. We talk about sports podcast. I don't know about the Super Bowl. I don't like making those kind of bets, but they're going to be there, and we're taking that over 12.5. And Ron, why don't you before we move on, why don't you let us know where we can put these bets in?
Man, you already know it's up there on the board. I got it right here. First step, go to Twitter. Everybody's got one, right? So you go to Twitter at BetKingOnline. That's where you need to go. Simple right there. Code, we talking about sports. You let BetKingOnline know that we sent you guys over there. They're going to give you guys a crazy, crazy promo. And I know everybody's thinking, hey, football hasn't started yet, Ron. Just chill. We don't need to, go deposit yet. But hey, there's some good MLB action. There's Olympics going on. If you want to get that bankroll up and play with house money when the NFL season comes around, get on BetKing Online right now, man. There's also something, I don't know if we're going to go into it yet. It's something, a little Survivor something. I don't know if we're touching that. Yeah. So it's not, you see, it's not just that. It's not just this one-time, code or this promo that they're going to be doing. They're going to be doing stuff all throughout the year. It's not a one-time thing. So there's a bunch of bonuses. There's a bunch of stuff. Go to Twitter, Bet King Online. That's what you need to do.
And
if you're betting these totals, I'm not trying to be a salesman, but if you're betting these totals, it's better to put them in early because this 12.5 can turn into 13. And instead of winning a 13-4 record, you could push, and you're going to be mad that you didn't put it in sooner. So that's the only thing.
That was going to be my point right there, that even if it's not for baseball, man, get these futures plays in because the numbers do move closer to the season. Obviously, with a power team like the Kansas City Chiefs, the number ain't going to go down. There's only one number that the number could go, and it's up. I'm not saying it will go up, but you want to get in earlier rather than later.
Yeah. Flip side also, I know last week when we did it, I was on a lot of unders on certain teams. If, injuries happen and you have an under on that team, I mean, you're golden, man. I mean, just like we started off the show. Yeah. If, we haven't got to that division yet, but say somebody gets hurt on somebody who we took the unders on, I mean, you're going to be sitting pretty, man, just waiting for that bet to cash at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. That's where you guys can put in the bets. And that was the Kansas City Chiefs. We're about to move on to the Oakland Raiders.
The Raiders.
All right. We're back with the second place team in the division last year. It's the Las Vegas Raiders. Man, when I was typing the script out, I was putting the Oakland Raiders. I was putting the San Diego Chargers. I'm not used to these changes. Las Vegas Raiders played their first season in Vegas in that new Death Star Stadium. I know, Ben, you've been out to Vegas. You've probably seen that stadium.
Death Star. I didn't even know it was called that.
Yeah, well, it's all black, so they're trying to little Star Wars talk there. But Raiders, 8-8 last year. 2-6 at that new stadium. They didn't have any fans there the whole year. 6-2 on the road. 4-2 against the division. They were called the Chiefs stoppers. They were the kryptonite to the Chiefs last year. They took a game against them. They're pretty competitive against them otherwise. They were 7-5 last year. They were looking like they might make the playoffs. People were talking good about John and Gruden, but they lost 3 of their last 4 games. End up finishing the season 8-8. They missed the playoffs. They had 8 games decided by a touchdown or less, and they were 4-4 in those games. Just couldn't seem to get over the hump. You look at their 2021 season props and bets. Vegas is not high on this team at all. To win the Super Bowl, they're plus 5,000. AFC Championship. Oh, yeah, Vegas. I just noticed I did that. To win the AFC Championship. I'm on fire today. I can't stop it. To win the AFC, plus 2,800. Season totals at over under 7, juiced to the over, minus 140. To win the AFC West, plus 1,200. To make the playoffs, it's plus 180. Yes, they will. And it's juiced minus 250 to them missing the playoffs.
Oh, okay.
Derek Carr to win the MVP is plus 6,000. So if you want to put $5 on there, you can get some Derek Carr love.
Little Vegas special.
Dude, they're saying they have a better chance at winning the Super Bowl. I know, plus 5,000.
Pretty much. Derek for winning the Super Bowl than Derek Carr has to win MVP. I mean, Derek Carr has been pretty good. Not really winning anybody's hearts over, especially Gruden. I don't think he likes them too much, but nonetheless, Derek Carr is still there. Some guys that they added, Casey Hayward, the cornerback from Los Angeles. He was there with the Chargers last year. Yannick Ngakoue, an edge rusher. They got Kenyon Drake from the Cardinals, Solomon Thomas. I think they brought him over from the 49ers. And I think they added, was that Willie Snead? I think I might have gotten that one wrong on there. I think he might be in Baltimore, but I could be wrong.
I think they got him from Baltimore.
Okay, they got him from Baltimore. Excuse me. They did turn some heads in the draft, not for a good reason though. At number 17, they drafted Alex Leatherwood, the tackle out of Alabama. Has an all-time name if you're a football guy. Leatherwood's a pretty good name, but definitely. the lineman name, but I don't think guys had him slotted that high in the first round. But the Raiders just seem to be one of those teams that they just do what they want, right? They've always just kind of gone against the grain and just draft what they feel like is value.
He had the fastest 40 time out of all the linemen. I'm sure.
There you go. They fell in love with the speed or something. Yeah, like they got a Henry Ruggs when everybody was thinking it would be Judy or Lamb as the first receiver last year. Speaking of receivers, they did lose Nelson Aguilar to the Patriots. He was their leading receiver last year, not named Darren Waller. Tyrell Williams leaves to the Lions. He's consistent for them. Lamarcus Joyner, their safety, goes over to the Jets. They lose Malik Collins and Takaris McKinley on that defensive line. Their storyline for me, and this is where I'll throw it over to Ben, is John Gruden, is he ever going to deliver? He got that monster 10-year contract to lure him out of the ESPN studio, out of his cave over there. Is he ever going to deliver, man, or is he just?
He's got too many years left on that contract to even be on the hot seat. I think I was kind of thinking like you, like, do they put Gruden on the hot seat? But that contract was wasn't it 10 years, $100 million or some shit like that?
Crazy stupid money.
So he's coach. I think he's got 6 years left on it. I believe it's 6 years. But I mean, they have gotten slightly better year after year, but. Bro, you got to think he does have control of personnel. And I'm not sure if it's complete control.
Well, it's him and Mr. Mayock, Mike Mayock.
His buddy who he signed or who he hired.
From the NFL Network.
Draft analyst, yeah. So I think, honestly, the biggest storyline for this season is going to be if Gruden can lure Aaron Rodgers in next offseason, bro. I don't think that there's much to look forward to for this Las Vegas Raiders season. I think that the way that teams were like, you know how in NBA free agency, some teams kind of just empty out all the cap and they wait for that summer of free agency to go all in and go knocking on that door. I think that that's what the Raiders are going to be doing this year. I think that they're just going to be looking to I know that Gruden and Rodgers have that relationship. I think that can be the best thing that happens to them this coming year, because on the field, it's not going to look good. I mean, I know that Ron said Nelson Aguilar was trash, but he put up pretty good numbers with the Raiders. He was one of their bright spots, but that also tells you they weren't that great if Nelson Aguilar was one of your bright spots. You know what I mean? So I don't have high expectations for them at all. I'm looking at Darren Waller. That's about the only thing that interests me on this team. We'll get into that in a little bit with fantasy, but I don't have high hopes for them. I have them winning, in the range of 6 to tops 8 games the most.
Missing the playoffs then? Yeah,
definitely missing the playoffs.
What about you, Ron? Yeah. What do you think about this team, man?
There's not much to say. I mean, Derek Carr is already at, the latter stages of his career, and you go draft an offensive tackle to protect this guy. Like, I mean, I get it. He's old. He's a little fragile. Not to say that he didn't have a decent season, but you can go get somebody explosive. If, just like Ben said, if you are thinking of landing Rodgers next year, maybe you go and get a nice receiver, who already has a year under his belt in the league to maybe lure Rodgers next year. Gruden, I like the guy more as of a commentator. I know
you're a huge Gruden guy, Ron.
Yeah,
you're a huge Gruden guy.
I am. I love what he did in Tampa Bay. I love him as a commentator. If he had, the talent, this team could go there. But I just don't think that it's there.
Don't you think that's part of his fault? I mean, the guy got there and back out.
That was his first move.
It was like pride. It was like. Shit. Yeah, it was like pride stuff, like, oh, if he's gonna want the attention and want all this money, we don't need guys like that. Like, okay, so who'd you go out and get? Nobody.
A horrible defense.
Yeah, and then they did have that little run in the beginning, and then their true colors kind of showed toward the end of the year. But I don't know, man. To me, there's just not much to say. They didn't the additions. There's not anybody there who you can say, man, this guy's a game changer. Their departures. I mean, Yes, I said he was trash, but at the end of the day, just like Ben said, it was still their wide receiver 1, so they lose him. So who's Derek Carr going to throw to now? Yes, there's Ruggs, but that was another questionable play. It's just to go straight to the over-under. My max ceiling for them is 6 wins. Even if they get to 7, it's a push, so you don't lose. Their schedule is tough. I mean, to start off, they start off with Baltimore and then Pittsburgh. They have the Chargers in the 4th game. They get, a couple pushovers in Denver and Philly, but then you get Kansas City, Cincinnati, Dallas, Washington, Kansas City again, then Cleveland, Indianapolis, and then the Chargers to end the year. So their the schedule is going to be super tough, man. So even if they win several games that maybe they shouldn't in the beginning, after the bye week in week 8, I mean, it's a freaking gauntlet to end the season. And I don't know if the Raiders have enough of what it takes. So I think they could be out of it early. You guys like to play on the minus 250 to not make the playoffs. It could be a season where they throw the towel in early, and I would take the under 7.
That's what I was going to ask you, Roland. If they don't get off to a good start, is this a team who you could see, kind of, packing it in and trying to get that top draft pick?
I do see that. I mean, I would really have to look at the quarterback prospects. I know you said that they would probably be in like the Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes coming into next season. But I can't see them getting off to, I mean, I had them going maybe in that first 7 games. I had them like right around 3 and 4. But as Ron alluded to, the back half of that schedule, it's almost, I wouldn't want to call it murderer's row, but it's pretty tough. And this is for a team that, I mean, you want to look at how they improved in the offseason, what additions they made and whatnot. And they really didn't get much better over in the offseason. And you add another year of Justin Herbert. The Chargers are getting healthy. They got better. The Chiefs are still the Chiefs. I just see them competing with the Broncos in the back end of this division. I have them max 6-7 wins. The over-under at 7 is a little scary because 7 is a nice little number. If you want to take the over, you could land on that number and be okay at 7 and 10. So that's why I wouldn't want to go and look at the season total. But I see no way that this team makes the playoffs. Yeah. So, I mean, if you don't mind taking a little bit of juice and maybe putting a little extra coin on that, I don't see them making the playoffs at all this year. So I'm all out on the Raiders.
Minus 250 for a team that has the lowest win total in the division. A minus 250 to make the playoffs for a team that has the lowest win total in a division. I mean, not all 4 teams are going to make the playoffs. And if they're projected to be last, minus 250 seems like a little bit of value to not make the playoffs.
Yeah. That's a good point. And, I think we're all kind of low on them as far as the way the team looks on paper, their performance throughout the season. But that doesn't mean that there's not any,
fantasy
value here. Is there anybody, Ben, or is there anything to look forward to?
Just as far as to give Gruden a little bit of credit, as far as the offense, I mean, last year they ended up being a top 10 passing offense as far as stats, yardage is concerned. And they were a top 10 rushing offense last year as well. So they mixed it up a bit. But, I mean, the highlight of this for fantasy, last year Jacobs was taken pretty high. I think that he showed that he might not be the most durable running back. And nowadays, like Ron alluded to earlier, it's kind of going more by committee. You don't just have that one guy. But Darren Waller last year was that tight end that took that step. I mean, he went in there. Not necessarily Kelsey level, but I think he's definitely at Kittle level. I think that he, cemented himself as that top 3 tight end. I don't know about the order. Well, for sure Kelsey, but with Kittle and Waller, I think it's debatable on who you like. Me personally, I had Waller last year and I liked him a lot. I think that the Raiders are going to be losing a lot. Carr and Waller have that connection already. I like Darren Waller as a second tight end off the board. Going, third round, maybe early 4th round. I really like Waller, and I wouldn't mind drafting him there either.
I mean, and to add to his value, if we're, it sounds like we have a consensus that we're not very high on the team. So if they are playing from behind a lot, you kind of abandon the run, you go pass heavy. And if he's your only weapon, just like we talked about with, Nelson Aguilar, their wide receiver 1 gone, he's pretty much becomes your top guy. And just like Ben said too, Jacobs was great. It wasn't really by committee to me. I know he was like a third down back. Yeah, you're right. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So, but he was going, a lot, first down, second down, third down. So he might get tired. He might get hurt. He's still a younger guy, yes, but that does not to say that he's going to absorb all these hits all the time. So this is probably the only fantasy play for me, even though it's third round. I don't know if I'm going to take him third round, but if he's there, it's going to be a tough decision if he's on the board and somebody's kind of stuck. He's one of those guys that if you take him and you hit, you look like a fantasy god. But if he's a bust, it's like, reach tight end in the third round, you know? So
I like that. I like Waller being the second tight end off the board over Kittle. I mean, he was targeted over 140 times last year, and then you talk about the number one wide receiver in that offense, Nelson Aguilar, walking out the door with a little over 80 targets. Those targets are going to go somewhere. I can see Waller absorbing even some of those and sticking at the 150 range for targets. And I mean, I'll take that all day for a tight end. You're not getting that anywhere else, really, unless you're looking at Kelsey or maybe Kittle. But I think the Niners have a little bit more of a balanced offense where I would lean towards Darren Waller as being a second tight end, especially, again, like I say, you take like these high-end like tight ends or maybe a high-end quarterback. I'd like to make those moves when I'm in the turn, when I'm at the back end of the draft, or I've been sitting for a long time because I had the first 2 or 3 picks. That's when you try and make the splash, in my opinion.
You're going out there and still getting one of the best guys at their position, so you will have an advantage there. And that is something that you can look at doing in the third round. I mean, with a guy like Waller, Roland said 140 looks last year in a PPR league, you know, that's big. That's major. So I agree. Let's get to the running back. I don't think that there's much to talk about on the offense fantasy-wise.
I just have to say, so you guys are sitting in your draft and you're on the clock in the third round and Waller's on the board. What are you doing? Real quick.
Say that again.
It said you guys are with the homies. You're in the draft. You're on the clock, third round, and Waller's available. Where he's supposed to get taken? What's the answer? Do you take him? Yes or no?
I'll take him. I like Waller this year.
And especially if I went
all right.
If I went like running back, receiver, and then I, obviously have a chance of getting a guy who can be tight end number one because the opportunity is going to be there, the athleticism's there, everything plays in. I would take him as well in the third round. I don't mind.
All right, cool. So we talking about sports. That's the pick right there for tight end third round.
Let's get into the position right now that I want to talk about.
What is that, running back?
Yeah, that's running back. Yeah.
So for running back, we talked about the horrible O-line and them selling off their O-line last year. Josh Jacobs finished as running back number 8 last year. So he had games where he would go off, and then he had games where he would have 6 points, 7 points. But you would have your 40-point game. You'd have your 28. He was consistent last year, and then the injury kind of took him down towards the end of the year. This year, he's going at the running back number 20. So he definitely lost a lot of value from last year. Last year, he was going back into the first round, early in the turn, based off the touches that he was going to get. Now he's going running back 20. They did add Kenyon Drake, who you would think is going to be the third down back. He's going to be there for those passing situations. How do you all feel about Josh Jacobs? Are you all looking to draft him? Or are you all looking to stay away? What do y'all think?
Wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot stick. I'm 10-foot pole. Yeah, I'm all out on Josh Jacobs. I don't want anything to do with the Raiders if it doesn't entail Darren Waller. Josh Jacobs, Kenyon Drake, that has 50-50 split written all over it to me. I don't think Josh Jacobs is that much better, or I don't even know if he's better than Kenyon Drake. I know Kenyon Drake's a little inconsistent, but Josh Jacobs hasn't proven to be a legitimate RB1 from week to week either. So again, I don't want anything to do with this backfield. I'm staying away from Josh Jacobs.
Say, man, I'll just keep it short. I'm not going anybody if it's not Waller. I always look at it like this. We're not high on them. They're not going to have a lot of leads to where they're going to be depending on giving the running back the ball to, take time off of the clock. I think they're going to be behind in a lot of games. And when you're behind, you don't run the ball, especially now that you have somebody else in the backfield with you to split the carries. It's just a wash. I mean, if he's there like super late, ridiculously late, he's a good guy, to handcuff. You never know if you can get a running back somebody's kind of solid in the last pick of your draft or second to last pick, why not? But if somebody takes him, dude, do me the favor and take him off the board.
Yeah, seriously, make that decision for me, because you can get into some of those dicey situations where you're like, should I take him? There's really nothing else there. But no, I'm staying away from them. I mean, Josh Jacobs, his potential's capped now. Ben talked about it. Kenyon Drake's more than likely going to be that third-round back. So you take away most of his pass catching ability. Josh Jacobs' success is going to be tied to yardage and touchdowns. And I'm not sure he's going to be a top 10 running back in touchdowns this year, just based on the way we're all projecting that offense or that team to look.
Ron's going to draft him. Watch.
Yeah, I'm staying away from Josh Jacobs.
I'm going to be – the only way I'll draft him is I have a lot of these, bro.
Or auto draft.
So Josh Jacobs or David Montgomery, the Chicago running back?
I'll take Montgomery
all day.
All right. And now Henry Ruggs, buy or sell? Any interest at all in Henry Ruggs?
I have interest in him because there's nobody else. There's just nobody else.
That's fair.
Somebody has to score, right? Yeah.
I mean, somebody's got to catch the rock, right? And if it's not Waller, who else is it going to be?
Yeah. So just with Ruggs, I know that.
I like that, Ben. I actually like that.
Only 43 looks last year. Only 43 targets for Ruggs last year. I know that he was hurt, but he is an Alabama receiver. They drafted him really high, so they have high expectations. You expect more than 43 looks, but I'm out on him. Waller, it's Waller or bust on this team for me, and that pretty much wraps up our coverage on the Las Vegas Raiders.
The Raiders, they were the second place team last year. I don't think any of us have them finishing in second place this year.
I don't know how.
But let's move on to the third place team that I think we have a little bit higher hopes for. Okay, it's time to talk about the guys in the powdered blue, some of the best jerseys in the NFL. Maybe staking a claim for moving up the ranks and getting closer to the best team in the NFL. I don't know if that's going to happen, but that's the Los Angeles Chargers. They were the third place team in this division last year. The most, notable thing about them last year is they did draft Justin Herbert, who did win Offensive Rookie of the Year for the NFL. He lit it up, 31 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Led them to a 7-9 record, was a pretty big reason for that, despite some of the injuries that they had early on. Like I said, 7-9 record, 4-4 at home, 3-5 on the road. They had a winning record against the division. They were 4-2. They took a game against the Chiefs at the end of the year, but they did play them close in the beginning. 23-20 overtime game, I believe. They missed the playoffs. They had, get this, they had 11 games decided by a touchdown, and they went 5-6 in those games. 11 games decided by a touchdown. Los Angeles Chargers, that seems to have been, though, the story of the Chargers since I've really known them. They've always been the team that's played the super close game.
Phillip Rivers, that was the story of his career,
since
too.
The Phillip Rivers days.
Bridesmaid, never the bride.
They're always right there about to win the super close game, or maybe they made the comeback that always fell just a little short, or they blew the crazy lead at the end. Just any way that you can think of losing, the Chargers have done it over the years, and in heartbreaking fashion for their fans, unfortunately. Their 2021 outlook, though, is a little bit brighter than it has been. Plus 3,000 to win the Super Bowl, plus 1,600 to win the AFC Championship. They're plus 450 to win the North. That puts them at second best odds. The North, to win the West. So that puts them at second best odds in the division. To make the playoffs, they are at plus money, but it's short at plus 105. No, minus 125. Justin Herbert to win MVP, plus 1,800. Joey Bosa, you get some Defensive Player of the Year odds with this team, plus 1,000. And then Derwin James coming back from injury, their star safety, plus 2,000 to win Defensive Player of the Year. And their season total is set at over under 9.5. That's kind of a high number. Over under 9.5. It is plus money if you're taking the over, so people have that juiced towards the under. So if you're taking the over, you can get plus 115, pretty decent odds. 2021 off season, They've made a little bit of moves. Nothing that really jumps off the page to me, other than maybe Jared Cook at tight end. They did bring in some help on the offensive line, and Corey Lindsey.
They upgraded that a lot, Roland. That we do have to note that because he was under a lot of pressure last year, and now they are going to have one of the better offensive lines in football.
So that seems to be a theme with this this division. You see the Raiders getting weaker at offensive line. The Chiefs had some losses, but they addressed them, so they covered up some holes there. The offensive line is going to be really big in this division. Yep. The Chargers, they went out and got some offensive line help, and they followed that up with drafting a first-round tackle out of Northwestern. They used their first-round pick instead of going and getting a high-flying receiver to give to Justin Herbert like the Bengals did with Burrow and Jamar Chase, passing up a tackle. The Chargers decided that they weren't going to do that. They were going to go get themselves their offensive tackle. And we're starting to see the juniors. They drafted Asante Samuel Jr., the cornerback out of Florida State, the son of Asante Samuel, the former cornerback. So we're getting old is what I'm trying to say. We're seeing these guys come into the league. So yeah, it's crazy. We're going to start seeing this a little bit more. But they had a pretty good offseason in terms of additions. They did lose, however, Melvin Ingram, their long-term defensive end, but he's probably towards the end of his career. Casey Hayward, cornerback, as we just talked about, him joining the Raiders. Trey Turner, their left tackle, is now with the Steelers. Hunter Henry signed that big deal with the Patriots. And the Denzel Perryman with the Panthers, and they did lose Tyrod Taylor, who was supposed to be the starter. He was supposed to be the starter last year.
I know.
He was QB1 last year until he got punctured in the chest. He's QB1 in Houston right now. But yeah, he was about to be the starter, and then freak accident with the doctor. I don't know whatever ended up happening with that case, but freak accident. Nonetheless, Justin Herbert takes the reins and ends up, taking the league by storm pretty much. Their 2021 schedule, it's in the middle of the road in terms of strength of schedule based on the 2020 season. They find themselves at number 17, a strength of schedule. Kind of what pops off the page to me is their first 6 games of the season is brutal. They start the season at Washington, then they play Dallas. The AFC West and the NFC East, if you guys haven't noticed, are playing each other this year. So it's the Washington football team. They get the Cowboys, then they go to Kansas City. They might get a little bit of a break against the Raiders. Then they got the Browns and the Ravens to go into the bye week. They're going to be a team that's looking for that bye week once it's getting there at week 7 after this.
3-3 into the bye, please.
3-3 is the best bet for this team. I can see them going 2-4. There's a route where they go 1-5 if you're really looking at it and just calling a spade a spade.
You might just give them the Raiders win. Yeah, you might just give them the Raiders win.
You might just give them that Raiders win. So while some guys are high, and you can see that with the love for Herbert and the season total being at over 9.5, the beginning of this schedule kind of just scares me off of anything to do with that total, because you could see yourself sitting at 3-3 best case scenario, in my opinion. The back half of that schedule does get a little bit easier for them. They got games against the Steelers at home, the Eagles, who I'm not very high on. They do go to Philadelphia there, but I think that is a game they can win on the road. Then they get Denver, Cincinnati, the Giants. That's a pretty nice little stretch for them. So I see them floating right around that 8 to 9 win mark. If Justin Herbert takes another step, I could see them at 10-7 potentially, because Justin Herbert, for all intents and purposes, the stock on him is super high, and they're thinking of him being one of these next guys to take the torch and become the next great quarterback. If he takes that step, I could see them at 10-7, but I'm a betting man. I'm not taking this. If I were to bet, I would probably lean towards the under, because I see more pass for them to end up under 9.5. So that's just where I'm at on it. What do you guys think? Ben, Ron?
I think I'll go quick. I don't have much. I think that this is just pretty much a show me season for the Chargers and for Herbert. I think
new
this
coach,
is like,
we didn't mention that.
Yeah, new coach as well. Yeah, new coach, and that is a big thing. But it's a show me season. I think that number's good. That number's right around where it needs to be, especially with the extra game added. We could be looking at an 8-8 team without that extra game. With that extra game, they might get the 9th win. But the beginning of that schedule, like you said, just makes you want nothing to do with this. Let's see how you come out of that. But that one stretch that you talked about Denver, Cincinnati, New York, Kansas City, Houston, that's when we're going to get the most Herbert hype that we're going to get all season. Because that's where the Chargers are going to go on a little stretch of putting up 30 points a game, 3 or 4 games in a row. And those are the opponents, and that's the stretch to do it in right there. So I think they're going to be real close to the number. I'm excited to watch them. If I were to compare them to an NBA team, I would say the Chargers are going to be like the Atlanta Hawks of the NBA. I think that Herbert has that Trae Young hype. He's an LA guy. He's real LA. He's real fucking LA looking, just like Trae Young is. We said Trae Young's made for Atlanta. I like the fit. I think that the key is going to be Mike Williams. We're going to talk about him a little bit in fantasy, but
we're talking about that off cam right now.
If he could stay healthy, if Mike Williams could stay healthy, that's going to be the key because he really pushes the ball upfield for the Chargers. Keenan Allen, you know what you're going to get from him. He's more that possession and that guy that's going to get you that catch. But yeah, you need that guy that's going to push the ball downfield, and that's Mike Williams. So if he stays healthy, man, I really like this Chargers team, and I'm pulling for them. To be that team. They're going to be that Sunday ticket team that that you're watching on Sunday because you want to see what Herbert does. Yeah, exactly.
What about you, Ron?
All right, here it comes. Here it comes. They are my Cleveland Browns. Yeah, and you know how high I was on the Browns. Bro, over 9.5 to me is the play. It's plus money. I'm I'm confidently high in my boy Herbie, not just on his cards, but on the field. Yes, the beginning of the season is tough, but look at what they added, man. They went and they got Corey Lindsey, who's a center, Mike Pouncey, who's a center, and how easily do centers move to the guard position? Then they go to the draft. Round 1, no silly games. They go get an offensive tackle. Round 5, they go get another offensive tackle, and that is good for my boy Austin Eckler. That's my boy Eckler. PPR God. We're gonna go into that later. Yep. But
Woodhead 2.0.
There we go, baby. So my boy Eckler. Then you got Herbie. Then you got Mike Williams, like we're going to touch on later. Keenan Allen. Just like Roland said, how many games did they have last year that were decided by 6, 7, 3 points, whatever, one possession, basically?
11.
Yeah, 11 games. If they win half of those games this year, that's 5 to 6 more wins. And they won 7. They had 7 wins last year. So you're only asking them to win
5 and 6
I'm sorry.
on that one.
Yeah. So there you go. So you're only asking them to win 3 more games than they did last year. It's plus money at over 9.5. Yes, the first 6 games are tough, but I can see obviously a win in Las Vegas. Hey, they might start off with a bang, get that Washington win, or Washington solid.
Yeah, they can beat the Washington.
I can see them beating Washington.
Yes, and as I'm a diehard Cowboy fan, you guys know that, but that's a toss-up game. So if you give, they're 3-3 in those first 6 games.
Hey, that might be where Herbert's all over ESPN for putting like 35 on the Cowboys
50,
or no.
50 spot.
Yeah. Also, how tough are divisional games? I know it's the Chiefs. But what did the Raiders do last year? So don't sleep on the Chargers doing that to the Raiders this year.
The Chargers did split with the Chiefs last year, but they won that Week 16 game where the Chiefs were kind of benching everybody because they had everything wrapped up.
But the first game, though, was 23-20, an overtime game that the Chiefs won.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. And then you go into the second half of the season, and we're not stars, of course, but in, athletics in high school and stuff, when you get on that little roll, when you get on that little vibe and everybody's vibing and having fun and momentum and winning fixes everything, you got New England, then you got Denver, Cincinnati, the Giants, and then you get KC, but you get up at home. So in between those games where you have teams what we predict are going to be above 500 teams. You get KC, and you're on a roll. You know, you just beat Cincinnati, you just beat Denver, you just beat Pittsburgh, in my opinion. Then you get KC, and you're like, hey, here we go. And then say you do lose to KC. Oh, you got the Texans. Oh, easy money there. And then you got Denver. And then you go get Las Vegas. So 9.5, man. I mean, me personally, I think that's a play. Even better, you're getting plus money on it. Herbie's going to take that step up. This is probably the play of the day for me in this whole entire division right here.
You see him as a playoff team?
I see them as a playoff team.
Wild card.
Whatever it is, they're going to be there, man. They're going to be there.
All right.
And so, do you like? I'm not trying to make jokes of this, but do you like Herbert as a potential MVP winner at plus 1,800? I mean, if you think they're going to have that great of a season, could you see it?
Why not? He won the Rookie of the Year.
He's the type of guy the media gets behind too.
Yes, very easy. And then you got, and that's because I was just talking about offensively. You do have that Chargers defense. Yes, I know that they did lose Melvin Ingram, but like Roland touched on, he is in the latter stages of his career. You got the new star coming up. You know, hey, we just lost Melvin Ingram, but hey, we got Joey Bosa. We got one of the Bosa brothers.
And they were injured last year.
And they get Derwin James back.
Yes,
I think that's a huge piece. He, people like to use the term chess piece or positionless, and that's Derwin James right there. Mm. He is the true chess piece. You can move him around at any part of the field. In 2018, I'm reading off of PFF right here. In 2018, his rookie year, which was his best year, he played 20% of the snaps on the defensive line, 41% within the box. That's bunched in, 16% out of the slot corner, and 21% of his snaps at safety. So he's all over the field. He does so much for this team. You get him back, that's a big, big piece for them. So if you're a believer,
go ahead. Yeah, I mean, his rookie year was 2018, so he's still a younger guy. You know, you have him, you have a guy like Bosa. That defense is there, man. So obviously Vegas cappers know a lot more than I do, but I think they had a misstep on this. The over under 9.5. The over under 9.5 is the play. And remember, get it in early. Go to betking.com and get it in early.
There you go.
I mean, I can see this, man. I mean, I really like the play. That's it right there. And I know you guys are down for this fantasy shit, so let's get
into a little bit of fantasy. Let's get into a little bit of fantasy. So let's just go with Eckler. I'm going to throw a couple names out just to test the waters and see how you feel of Eckler. So Eckler or Aaron Jones?
Eckler. Don't ask me because I'm a huge Eckler guy.
Eckler or Taylor from the Colts?
Eckler
right now because of the injuries to the O-line and Carson Wentz.
Okay, Eckler or Gibson from Washington?
Eckler.
I'll go Gibson on that one because I think he's going to be a horse for them, and we'll talk about that more, but I like Gibson a lot.
Okay. Now Adams or Eckler? A wide receiver, would you take Eckler before you took your first wide receiver, or would you take a wide receiver before you took Eckler?
I would take Adams before Eckler.
Okay. Ron?
Dude, I'm just that Eckler guy, man.
I had him in every league last year. But
he killed it for me 2 years ago. He was my keeper. And then last year he was killing it, so he got hurt. I'm a
freak injury too.
Loyalty.
The only thing that sucks about him is the touchdowns. You know you're not going to get the touchdowns. You're just not going to get the touchdowns with him because he's not that goal line guy. He is that do-it-all PPR guy where he's going to get a lot of receptions. I like him too. I honestly like him over Nick Chubb as well. I didn't put Nick Chubb on this list just because I thought maybe y'all would go with Chubb. The consensus, I think, would go with Chubb, but I tend to like Eckler a little bit more. I think that he is the most surefire thing in the Chargers offense over Keenan Allen, I think, is Austin Eckler.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And
he really doesn't have a running mate the way Chubb has Hunt.
That's a big point because he has Joshua Kelly and Josh Jackson.
And Joshua Kelly kind of got himself in trouble with the fumbles last year.
They were talking about one of them getting cut already during camp. I'm not sure what name it was because they're pretty similar, but yeah, he is the guy there, for the most part.
And at the beginning of the season, he still had those guys in the backfield with him, but he just said, "Hey, kids, this is my show, man. I'm putting up the points. I'm putting up, well, fantasy-wise at least, I'm still putting up the fantasy points. A lot of yak with that guy. A lot of yak.
If you're at that 9 or 10 pick, you can even go Adams and then Eckler just right there, boom, on the turn. If you're going to take him over Chubb, if that's the way that you feel.
Right there, too. I like
that. Because Chubb is going to be there to choose from between Eckler, Aaron Jones, and Chubb. And you can take your choice of Adams and either of those 3 running backs if you're sitting at 9 or 10. Maybe number 10 is going to make some decisions for you if you're 9, but you're sitting pretty good. So after
you
that,
have the pass catching with him. It's just when PPR league, that's so valuable. Yeah,
exactly. As far as Herbert, guys, Herbert, Ron. I know that it seems like you're very high on this team, and if you're high on them, you got to be high on Herbert. He's the 6th quarterback going off the board.
What does that tell you?
With that? Is that too high?
I agree with it. Go, Ron.
Go ahead, Roland. No, you go.
He's going before Brady.
Shit, if I had the choice between Herbert and Brady, I would probably go Brady. Just
second that notion.
I like Brady's weapons this year. They're probably going to be one of the better passing offenses in the league, but that's another discussion for another day. I'm going to say that I like Herbert. I think he's going to be part of a high-flying offense, but at numbers, I would just go Brady over Herbert. But at 6, I think it's fair, and I think his potential and his performance is factored in at 6. I think that's a fair number.
Well, where's Brady at though compared to Herbie? I mean, if Brady's like at 8 or 7, then it's essentially the same thing.
I mean, that's a whole round later. It's
potentially.
Yeah. Brady is around 8, but I mean, like I said, it's a round later.
Yeah. That's tough, man. I mean,
or like would you settle for a guy like Stafford maybe or Tannehill over drafting Herbert? Quarterback off the board.
No. Yes. Really?
I would.
You would, Roland?
I would, because I think
there's not that much of a drop off.
Yes, I think history proves that once you leave the QB3 range, QB4 range, the guys like QB5
Lamar, Josh Allen,
the difference between them is minuscule. Like, you're better off just going ahead and punting and getting more and taking skill players than you are trying to chase that quarterback in the middle round that is not a Kyler Murray, that is not a
Russell
Mahomes,
Wilson.
I would throw Wilson in that.
No, Wilson's actually going. It's Wilson or Herbert that you're having to choose from. But
that's a good one. Who would you go, Herbert or Wilson?
Yeah.
I would go Herbert just based off the new scheme that the Seahawks got and them being more run oriented. I do like the weapons. I do think that they're going to be high flying. I like Herbert. I just don't know if I'm willing to draft him where he's going. Like you all, I think I could settle for Tannehill and Stafford, playing by matchup rather than taking Herbert, in the 6th or 7th round when I could be taking, more receiver depth. So that's just where I would go.
Yeah, good point, man. But and it's funny because I said this in the last team that we were covering. I said, if I don't have to take a quarterback at 3rd, 4th round, I would love to take a quarterback 5th, 6th round. And if Herbie's there, that's a sign for me right there. I said, I like to punt on quarterbacks, maybe not super late, like 8th, 9th, 10th round. But if I can get a guy like Herbie in the 6th round with this offense coming off the Rookie of the Year win, man, give it to me.
It's Aaron Rodgers is going off the board, and after that is Herbert. So obviously Allen, Murray, Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson are off, and then it's going Aaron Rodgers at 5 and then Herbert at 6.
Don't sleep on his rushing ability either. He's still a younger guy.
The O-line, and he does have that in his bag. He does have that in his back pocket, but with the better O-line, you expect him to be able to sit in the pocket and make the throws. He did have to leave the pocket a lot just based on how shitty his O-line was last year. So let's get to the wide receivers. Keenan Allen going in the 3rd round. if you all are going running back, are you okay? Or tight end running back, Kelsey, are you okay with Keenan Allen being your wide receiver 1?
If he's the first guy that I draft at
round
that position, yeah, I'm okay with him. I think he's the model of consistency. The only thing you have to watch out for with Keenan Allen is an injury. That's the only thing that stops Keenan Allen is an injury. Otherwise, you can bank him in for
and
9.
he is coming off a pretty healthy season, so that does scare you.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, going by what I was saying about guys, hey, he was healthy last year. This is going to be the year that he gets hurt or something. That could be it. But just looking at his numbers and not even thinking about the injury, I would be comfortable with him at that spot, the way you posed that question.
Say, man, last year I had the dynamic duo, which was crushing it for me early. I had Eckler, I had Keenan Allen, and I mean, I was doing extremely well. I mean, yeah, if I have my
You had
RB,
both, Ron? You took both?
Yeah,
If they're going to fucking score, it's going to be one of these two, right?
Yeah. No, man, yeah, but if you have your RB1 set and maybe not necessarily your tight end, but if you have your RB1 set and you have a wide receiver like Adams, just say, for example, you draft early, you get Devontae Adams, and then you get somebody like Eckler that somebody passes on, and then you still have a chance to get Keenan Allen. I would. I'm fine with him. Yeah, I'm fine with him being my wide receiver 1.
All right, and for Mike Williams, what do y'all think about Mike Williams? Is that a guy that you're willing to take a flyer on late? Is he a difference maker? Roland, it seems like maybe you've been in on him before and he's let you down, that you're just out on him now?
Just using the same logic kind of as with McCole Hardman. If it hasn't happened yet, it's probably not going to happen ever. So that's where I'm at with Mike Williams. I'm out on him. I could be wrong, but I'm out.
Has it been injury that stopped him? Has he gotten it done while he's been there?
He has. I think he has gotten it done, but I look at his numbers. He's never gotten over 50 catches in a year. That scares me. You're really relying on him to pop off from week to week, and I don't want to marry myself to that on a week-to-week basis.
I think that he's different than the Hardman situation because it's just him and Keenan Allen. They did just lose Henry, and the only reason why I say that is because I'm a guy who likes wide receiver 2s. I go after the wide receiver 2s because obviously all the coverage is on the other guy, and everybody's going to be on DK. So I think we talked about that the first time. Hey, give me Lockett. So I'm high on Mike Williams. It's obviously we hate to say it. Oh, injury this, injury that. Yes, yeah. I mean, what's his projected?
He's going between the 8th and 10th round.
Dude, that's all day for a solid wide receiver 2.
He could be like a flex option.
2 guys coming off injury.
2 guys coming off injury.
Mike Williams or Deebo Samuels?
I would go Deebo.
Okay, that's similar ADP. Or
I would go Mike. Yeah, I would go Mike just because I'm so high on the Chargers offense. But the wide receiver 2s who have a potential to be a top wide receiver 1, let's just say Keenan Allen goes down, is somebody like Mike Williams. You have those wide receiver 2s to where if the wide receiver 1 goes down, you're still not like, he can't carry the team. So I think Mike Williams is a guy who can carry the team, and I love that he's a big, huge guy. He has a big catch range. He gets a lot of balls, a lot of deep balls. So
hey, a lot of balls going his way.
Hey, Ron, the baby wouldn't approve of all that language here. Cuz.
Well, shoot, there's a lot to like about this Chargers team. Ron's high on them. If you guys missed it, he's taking the over 9.5 plus 115. That's going on the ticker there at the bottom.
Roland, what do you think about the Atlanta Hawks comparison? Was it kind of there?
It's kind of there, but the only thing that I would say is it will be there throughout the season if he reaches the playoffs, right? Because you can make the comparison right now, but I think if he gets to the playoffs, I for sure see that comparison. More so with the swag. People kind of like Herbert when he's out there out west, and
I hated him coming out of Oregon, bro, and I'm a fan.
Hey, I was off on Herbert. I think we both were. I think we were both kind of low on him coming out of Oregon. And he's a monster for sure. But if you guys like them, like Ron does, go ahead and take the over 9.5 plus 115, and you guys.
Where can they go?
For that. Bet King Online. Check it there on the board if you're looking at Ron. But let's move on to a team.
Let's get into that Mondo over there going special, Roland. Let's get into the
out. Do we have his text message live so we can read off? I know he sent out his record.
My
explanation
God.
I have him here.
I'm not gonna read it off, Ben. You can do the pleasure of that, but just to dress it up.
You should have told me. I would have screenshotted it, and then we could have put it on the damn.
They went 5-11 last year. Just to go quick, they went 5-11 last year. This is a show me year, make it or break it for Drew Lock, their first round draft pick. They did bring in Teddy Bridgewater to compete with him for that starting job and maybe light a fire under him. The season win total under 8.5. They lost Jarrell Casey. They lost AJ Bouye, excuse me. Nick Bennett also, and they lost the hometown man, Philip Lindsay. But like I just said, I think this all comes down to the quarterback position. And Ben, you take it away from here.
Roland, usually you don't read text messages. And last season when we did this division,
I did.
You, the messenger, were killed for relaying Mondo's hideous prediction of the Denver Broncos. All right, Mr. He believes in luck. So this morning, you hit him up in the group chat and you said, Mondo, what's the Broncos record this year, pal? Get back to me. At 9 a.m. and at 2:46 p.m. Mondo Obregón, the biggest car dealer in the RGB, baby.
He had just woken up from an all-night shift at the poker house.
Hey, the Sharks. That's what you call a shark, baby. Says this year is all going to depend on how we start, I believe. Instead of I believe at the beginning of the sentence, instead of I believe this year, it's all going to depend on how we start. He said, I believe at the end. So Mondo had just woken up, man. He hadn't even wiped the crust out his eye before he responded to this text.
Yeah, you're going at him pretty hard here.
Hold up. It's all for fun.
It's warranted. It's warranted too.
So that's not the end of one text message. That's a period after I believe, right? Then he says, because we can very easily start the season 3-0, beating the Giants, Jags, and Jets.
Fair.
If we can do that, if we can do that, I'm not a big fan of playing the if game. Mondo woke up and wanted to fucking play the if game right off the bat. If we can do that, I think. So still thinking. Mondo has no clarity to this fucking prediction, folks. All right, we can go 9-6. And then he says our defense got a lot better this year, especially after the draft. And I think that's going to keep us in a lot of games, which I agree with, to where our offense isn't going to need to put up a lot of points, which I agree with, but they can't put up a lot of points. So they better not need to.
They're not going to put up a lot of points.
Right. And then he breaks down the schedule and he says a lot of these games I think are going to be close. And who knows how the season plays out. I just told you 9-6, but who knows?
There's nothing like capping in August, man. To get your in August. Who knows? Everybody's at 0-0 right now.
And then he hits us with, it's going to depend on how Drew Lock has progressed during the offseason and preseason and how we start the first 3 games. This is a lot.
There's a lot of contingencies.
It's a lot of contingencies, Roland. I didn't know the word.
God.
But you're an educated man, so you're contingencies.
A lot of contingencies.
Mondo is using a lot of contingencies, and fam, it's not adding up. And I think it's going to be a horrible fucking
The math's not there, Ben? The math's not there?
Listen, the math, and I'm not very good at math, but I busted out the calculator and the shit still don't add up. Okay? It still don't add up. Even with the T183 plus or whatever the fuck that shit was called. It's not adding up. I don't even think that Drew Lock is going to be the quarterback for the Denver Broncos. I think that's my biggest take. I think that they stand a better chance with the game manager of Teddy Bridgewater, a guy who will make less mistakes than Drew Lock. I do think that Drew Lock has a little bit more big play ability, but Teddy Bridgewater makes less mistakes. And with a good defense, it's an easier way to stay in games. I believe they have a new head coach, Roland. I don't know if I'm mistaken in that, but my biggest takeaway is Drew Lock will not be the starting quarterback week 1.
No, it's still Fangio. It's still Fangio.
Well, then they're still going to suck.
Yeah, I don't have high hopes for these guys. I'm glad you read out Mondo's text, as you guys remember. Well, I read it out last year for him when he called an 11-5 record, and I was going to say on
the numbers reversed, man.
on the math, and we were just talking about the math not being there. The math still not there. Mondo, he gave out a 9-6 record that adds up to 15 games. So he missed like a lot of games in that. So we're gonna have to ask him for the rest of the record.
This guy. Hey, wait! I feel sorry for the poker players who are at his table while he's trying to do the math, bro.
Yeah, man. I don't know. Like Ben said, he must have just woken up from a full shift, and I can't blame him if it's hard. But man,
no, we're not counting on you, man. We just we love you, bro. We love you so much.
We love you, Mondo. You're always supporting the podcast, and
we can do this with Mondo and him not. We can have fun at the expense of Mondo and him not get his.
This is
you can take it with the greatest salt.
This is Ben doing the math on that win total right here,
and it's like no, Mondo. They split with the Raiders, Mondo. I mean, that's what all these numbers say. Like that's the best of their shit.
But you know, he did bring up some decent points. The defense is going to keep them in some games.
I agree.
As a Cowboys fan, I was a little pissed off at the Broncos during the draft because I wanted Patrick Surtain, and they went ahead and they got him. They drafted the cornerback out of Alabama.
And a lot of people thought they should have gone O-line.
Mm-hmm. And then they went and added Ronald Darby. Solidified, and Kyle Fuller too, another pretty good cornerback. So that defense, that secondary is going to have them in some games. I see why the over 8.5 is a little juice to the over. But the thing that just scares me off of the Broncos is quarterback, man. Quarterback. That's all it comes down to for me. I mean, yes, they won the Super Bowl when Peyton Manning was on his last legs and was playing horrible. But he didn't lose them
game manage
games. He could game manage. And Drew Lock, he's the type of guy that'll throw 3 or 4 interceptions and lose you a game.
He's not the guy, bro. He's the guy that the defense gets pissed off at and says, "Hey, bro, we just we just picked it for you. We just recovered a fumble, and then you're just gonna give the guy the other team the ball right back." That's who Drew Lock is.
Do you think Drew Lock is the starter, Ron, or do you think Teddy Bridgewater gets the nod? They traded for Teddy Bridgewater.
As soon as you said it, I nodded my head because Teddy Bridge is legit, man. You know,
I think he's your best chance to win.
He's your best chance to win. Not that he's gonna get you those wins, but between him and Drew Lock, you have to go Teddy Bridge, man. I have them at a super. I don't know if Roland can throw up the graphic again, but I have them at like a super high ceiling of 8 wins, and that's giving them. That's saying like, well, they could win this game, and that has me, and that has me getting them to 8. It's just how are you going to rely on your D? I know Peyton Manning did it, but the last time the Broncos did that, they had a quarterback like Peyton Manning, and that's what the situation is offensively. Yes, they have Jared Jeudy, who I'm high on. But it's just if that's all that you have, there's another receiver there who's really good. Roland was talking about him earlier.
Courtland Sutton.
Courtland Sutton as well.
He's coming off an ACL surgery.
And then if you want Drew Lock throwing those guys the rock, like that's just I don't know, man. I don't know if you can count on that. They just lost Lindsey as well, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
They drafted a really good running back. That
Javonte Williams. We'll get into that.
Mondo said that they win the first 3 games, New York, Jacksonville, and then the Jets. I think they have trouble in the first game of the season going to the Giants, who are a solid enough team. I have them winning, maybe Vegas and the Jets and Jacksonville. So that's only 3 wins there. Before going into the bye, they go to Cleveland, then they go to Dallas, and then they're one of those teams who – the latter part of their schedule is just an absolute, tough as nails.
With an early bye week.
Yeah, well, their bye week's week 11.
Week 11.
Yes. I thought it was week 6.
No, so after that bye week, it's a gauntlet, man. They got the Chargers. They go to KC. They get a little break in Detroit, but then they have Cincinnati, who's tough offensively. They get Vegas again, but at Vegas. Then they go to LA to play the Chargers, and then they finish off the season with Kansas City. I just don't see it. If they get their wins, they get them early, but I still don't think that's enough to get them over the total.
What about this? They I'm trying to find a route here because they do have the 27th ranked strength of schedule. And like Mondo said, I can see a path to 3-0 for them in the beginning of the season. I can see them beating Pittsburgh, Vegas at home. So I can see the reason why you would be high on them here. But you go and you look at Cleveland, Washington, Dallas. I have them losing all 3 of those games. You go to the bye. You get Los Angeles. I have them losing that game. I have them losing against the Chiefs. They beat Detroit and Cincinnati. But what I'm getting to is they could find themselves right around that 8 mark going into the last week of the season. What if they're at that 8 mark and Kansas City has already locked everything up and they get the final win on the last game of the season to push them over the season win total? That is a possibility.
We saw happen, but with only the 1 bye in the playoffs now instead of the 2 like it's been previously, maybe Kansas City just can't risk it, that last week.
Bro, Kansas City's JV squad could beat the freaking Broncos.
No, but I'm saying maybe like the Bills or the Chiefs are right on the Chiefs' ass, and they can't do that. I mean,
very true, Ben. Good point.
The one angle that I liked on this was I like Denver not to make the playoffs. I think they're another team that's in that Aaron Rodgers sweepstakes. We heard a lot of rumors about Aaron Rodgers to Denver. We know that John Elway preys on these older quarterbacks, these already established quarterbacks that can just go in there and, hit all systems running off the bat. So I think that I don't have high hopes for these guys. I don't see them making the playoffs. I think at the most 2 teams in this division at the most make the playoffs. And that second team would be the Chargers. It wouldn't be the Broncos.
Dude, I just noticed that, and it's only minus 140 for Denver. And as you guys know, if you're seeing this, and you can see the graphics, I was the one who made the graphic. That's why it says Denver Ponies. That's why it says Denver Ponies. So that was another jab at Mondo there. But man, Ben, I just noticed that. I was so focused on the over-under total. But Denver Broncos to not make the playoffs at minus 140, bro, lock it in, bro. Lock that shit in right there.
That's more for sure than the Chargers over, cuz the Broncos are not making the playoffs.
Yeah, what was the Chargers over? It wasn't that much difference. So
no, it was 8.5 or 9.5. But what I'm saying is like the Chargers will finish with the second best record in this division. 3 teams from this division will not make the playoffs. And Denver was the last place team in the division last year. Yes, they do get, defensive help back, but offensively they didn't fix their biggest problem. That biggest problem was quarterback. Yes, Teddy Bridgewater is a game manager and he's not going to turn the ball over, but he's also not going to be the reason that you win games. He's not.
Check this out. I'm getting the pen and I'm getting the pad because minus 140 at Broncos to not make playoffs. I got to put that in right now, man. I'm going to Bet King on Twitter and I'm putting that in right now. That's a lock if I've ever seen one. Hey, going back to Rollins, no pun intended, Drew Lock. Hey.
that is a lock. I think we're all on board with that one, but that doesn't mean they're not playable in fantasy, though. Ben, is there anything
fantasy-wise? Roland, tell us a little bit about their running back situation. So they had signed Melvin Gordon to that deal when nobody had, but they go out and draft this rookie running back. Fill us in on him. A lot of people are high on him.
Javonte Williams, running back out of North Carolina. A lot of guys had high hopes for him. They call him maybe other than what was the other running back they got? Travis Etienne. They got drafted a very, very talented running back out of North Carolina. To me, it's looking like a split. The word out of camp, though, is that Melvin Gordon isn't running back number 1, but that's to be expected. He's a returning veteran right now. But needless to say, Javonte Williams, I don't know what his ADP is at right now, but this is another backfield that could –
it's only going to get lower. Like, I think going into the season, you're going to get more hype on him, and his ADP is going to get lower and lower.
He's a guy that you want to try and target because I think throughout the season you're going to see him ascend, and you're going to see Melvin Gordon go the other way. That's just how these things kind of work.
Yeah, second-round pick for a running back is, you're kind of putting yourself out there because you can find running backs everywhere. Going first-round running back is like a big whoa. You all really did that. Second round, same thing. This guy was proven in college. He was the leading rusher in the ACC last year. I think he had more rushing yards than Travis Etienne. So as far as a running game, I do think that I don't know if he starts off as being the starter right away, but I do think, like Roland said, they ease him into that throughout the season. I'm still not interested in the Denver Ponies backfield, Ron. Are you?
No, man. I was just as you were, leading into it, I was just gonna say it goes back to another point of a team that I think is going to be behind in a lot of games. And when you're behind, you don't feed the running backs, especially a rookie running back who's, already in the running back 2 spot. The only fantasy value I have, I don't know if you're going to get into it or not, but the only fantasy value I have here is Jerry Jeudy. Somebody has to catch
ask, who's your favorite receiver? Yeah, Sutton, Patrick, or Jeudy. So you're a Jeudy fan.
Yeah, I'm a huge Jeudy guy. Just those Alabama receivers to me, there's just solid guys. They know how to win. They know how to, first of all, they're guys who don't have a lot of drops. As long as you can get them to rock, it's a pretty secure catch if you go their way. So I would have to go with Jeudy here as the only fantasy value if I'm on the clock and I need a receiver and it's somebody like him, even though on a not terrible offense, but not one of the best offenses in the league with a questionable quarterback, I still go with Jeudy if I need a wide receiver.
Jeudy's going in the 6th round. He is the first Broncos receiver off the board. Going in the 7th round after him is Courtland Sutton. Roland, would you feel more comfortable taking Courtland Sutton or Jared Jeudy?
I would probably feel more comfortable taking Courtland Sutton just based on his ADP. I think the price that you spend for Jeudy is a little higher than I would like, because you're banking him at that position to be a wide receiver 2 maybe, or pretty much a wide receiver 2.
Mm-hmm.
And
yep.
I just don't want to be locked in to a receiver with those quarterbacks, man. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater could be viewed as an upgrade over Drew Lock, but I mean, Teddy Bridgewater, he ranked maybe in the bottom 3rd of all quarterbacks last year. So I don't want any part of this Denver Broncos offense. I mean, I don't know. I had to step away right now, but I don't even know if I would take Noah Fant. I know that's another guy that people like.
That was the last guy I was going to get to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have much trust in this wide receiving core either, just based off the quarterback situation. I honestly think this is going to be a team picking in the top 10 next year. And as good as their defense is, listen, I'm just not high on the Broncos. That quarterback is the main position, on the field, and they're not in the easiest of divisions. The Chargers are on the rise. The Chiefs are that juggernaut, and the Raiders seem to overperform when everybody expects them to underperform. You know what I mean? So I could see them splitting with the Raiders. I don't see them taking one from the Chiefs this year, and I don't see them taking one from the Chargers either. As far as Noah Fant, that was my question. Do you all expect them to take that step into these tight ends realm of Kittle, Waller? I'm not even going to mention Kelsey, but does Noah Fant take that step up or not?
I don't think that he can, because nobody's going to help him get there. That's my answer to the question.
Roland?
Man, it's tough. I'd probably stay away from him. I don't think so. He's just going to be handicapped by his quarterback situation, and they're probably going to lean on wanting to run the rock a little bit more. So the opportunities just might not be there for Noah Fant. I don't see him occupying a large target share like some of these other tight ends do, because you do have Jeudy and Courtland Sutton still there. So I just don't think the numbers are going to be there for him.
Okay, yeah, I'm not very interested in Sutton either. Look, I'm out on the Broncos this year. I really think that there's a lot of value in only minus 140 on not to make the playoffs.
Hell
just
yeah.
based on the team total and just the trajectory of the division. So how do y'all expect the division to finish?
Chiefs are going to win 6 in a row.
Okay, so Chiefs, but let's give a order.
Oh, okay. Order is going to be Chiefs, Chargers. I could maybe go Broncos and Raiders. I got Raiders in last place in the division.
Okay, Ron.
I just have the last 2 switched. Obviously Chiefs, they're still a juggernaut. The Chargers are going to do a lot better than last year, but they're still not at the Chiefs level. Then I'd lean Raiders and then end it with Broncos.
Yeah, I think the last 2 are interchangeable. Regardless, I don't think that we see 3 teams in the playoffs from here. So I do have the Chiefs. I have the Chargers after that. And it's going to be a battle. I'll lean Broncos just based off the defense. That Raiders defense was ass last year, but they won't make the playoffs, and y'all need to go lock that in at BetKing Online, man. Broncos not to make the playoffs. We're going to make that official.
Broncos to make the playoffs, no, minus 140.
No.
That's it.
No, minus 140. Yeah. That's an official bet. You add that to the Chiefs over 12.5 as another official bet. And Ron, he gave out his special play of the day. His favorite play of the day was Chargers over 9.5 at plus money. That's plus 115.
Plus 115. Everybody's gonna go fade that right now. So.
Hey, how many plays do we have for the show officially though? So we got 2 for this division.
2 for this division.
The Rams.
The Rams total. And then we took another total last week. I think we took the Ravens.
The Ravens total.
Yeah. So we got 4. That wraps up the AFC West division. I don't have anything else to add. I do want to say that we might jam pack 2 divisions in one episode coming up for some of these divisions, like the AFC South and maybe like the NFC North, where it's pretty top heavy or just there's not much.
Or maybe we can just close out the AFC and just do the last 2 divisions in the AFC rolling.
So yeah, just be on the lookout for that. We're getting closer to the start of the regular season. I know we're doing the fantasy football draft.
We need to start getting some like if y'all want to be in the fantasy football league. Last year we had 10 members. I expect all of those members to return, hopefully, but I did want to expand to 12 if we can fill it up. I'm open to expanding up to 12 people. Usually I play fantasy only 10 players, but 12 makes it a little different, and it's free. You know, the winner gets a jersey, so let's have fun. Let's get more people in it. If y'all are interested in playing in the Fantasy Football League, just hit us up on Twitter and tell us, yo, reserve me a spot or I want in, and we'll get you in. I'm going to start sending out those invites here in the next week or 2.
Yeah, man. I mean, there's only like you said, if we can go to 12, that would be good. We already had a solid group of guys last year, so there's probably going to only be a couple slots left. And like Ben said, it's absolutely free. It's just to thank you guys for listening to the podcast, for following We Talking About Sports on Facebook, on Twitter, on all the social medias. Last year they gave away, a jersey. Again, absolutely free. There's no, there's nothing behind it. There's no catch. There's no nothing, man. It's absolutely free because you guys kick it with us and you support us. And all that we ask for is just that, to continue sharing the videos, to continue telling people about it, especially, a group of guys here from the Valley, spread the love just like you guys have been. If you want to play with us in fantasy football, I mean, what's the worst that could happen, man? You lose or you win and you get a sick, official NFL jersey. So.
But if you lose, you're going to get some shit talked to you.
Oh, for sure.
If you win, at least give us the right jersey size.
Yeah. And then now what will be even cooler is that we're a little bit bigger on the social stuff, and then we're on the YouTube now a little bit more than last year. So that the shit talking and week to week is gonna get crazy, man. So we might even ask you to be on the show with us. Tell us how you kicked everybody's ass. So do it. Join us. We'll have you on the show, man.
We're looking to go live for the draft. So on draft night, we can have up to 10 people on StreamYard, so we can talk some shit on draft night and all that. But that's gonna wrap up this episode, man. So that's it for us. Check out that UFC episode. We got a pick on there for the UFC fights on Saturday, and we'll be back next week with another NFL episode, and we'll see what else we can get out as far as daily videos for you.
Yeah, man, that's it. All I have to say is go Cowboys. This NFL season's coming. Let's kill it. BetKing Online. Do not forget. And let's get this cash, man. We Talking About Sports. Share, guys. Appreciate the love.
Peace out.
I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice. I mean, listen, we talking about practice. Not a game. We talking about practice. Not a game.
Me. Bam, bam. Me, man.
Not a game.
Slap that like she scored 30.
What are we even talking about, man? We talking about sports here.